Now we have details of Denver's public mask order, and it's going to make people hot. And not just because they'll be wearing masks indefinitely through the summer months. The mask order begins on May 6th. No end date. It mandates masks inside stores and while waiting outside of them, inside businesses where workers are not 6 feet apart, on public transit, in government offices and healthcare buildings. Now, it doesn't apply at people's own homes, and it doesn't apply when people are exercising outdoors or if they're in a park. And violators can be fined up to $99. Here is where I see Denver's public mask order being problematic, though. It directs stores and other businesses not to serve people who aren't wearing masks and to attempt to remove them from the premises. You can see where that's going to go. We are going to have amateur constitutional scholars berating teenage grocery clerks. This is inevitably going to lead to confrontations. Here's a thought. If you're opposed to the mayor's public mask order, that's totally fine. But before you decide that you're going to be the Rosa Parks of the checkout line, how about directing your opposition at the city? Letter to the mayor. You could sue the city. Let the whole thing be decided in court. But you're not a civil rights hero because you decide to chew out some supermarket employee who's just trying to get through the day without catching COVID-19. Please consider making your constitutional stand somewhere other than the produce section. Democratic Governor Jared Polis said today that he kept the purchase of 100,000 test kits a secret from the federal government because he was worried the feds would come in and snatch them, either at customs or somewhere else along in the supply chain.
We're happy to tell folks once the stuff is here, once it's inventoried, once it's safe, exactly what we've got. But in the meantime, we don't want to give put Coloradans at a disadvantage by allowing our own federal government or other states to purchase things that Colorado had already purchased.
Polis clearly not out of the woods yet. Lest you think that this is a partisan thing between our Democratic governor and the Republican administration, I'll tell you this. The Republican governor of Maryland said recently that they had police and National Guard protect their shipment of tests so that they couldn't be taken by the feds, as a shipment headed for Massachusetts was commandeered. More than 700 Coloradans are currently in the hospital being treated for COVID-19. We can give you a look at how the hospitalization number has changed day by day. You can see that we've kind of plateaued on this measure. We are seeing about 50 to 75 hospital discharges or transfers each day. So that also means that's roughly how many people are sick enough that they're having to go into the hospital each day due to COVID-19. You might notice that that is a new way of looking at the numbers. Some of you have said quite rightly that each night seeing the cumulative numbers tick up and up and up doesn't really give us a sense of where we are in Colorado right now. Now, hospitalizations is a lagging indicator, obviously, behind new cases. But the reason why we're showing you hospitalizations is because it's not as dependent on testing. When we ramp testing up, we're going to ramp the number of new cases up, and some of those folks are going to be asymptomatic. That hospitalizations number gives us a look at who is seriously sick enough with COVID-19 that they need to stay in the hospital. We'll keep adjusting these graphs, trying to give you a more accurate and in-context picture of the situation in Colorado. And as always, we welcome your feedback on how we could do this better. Feel free to get in touch anytime. Governor is serious about no evictions. Man, it dropped a strict 1-month ban late last night by executive order, about the same time that he told ski areas that wanted to reopen that they need to hold off. Polis had dodged the issue of an eviction moratorium. Wasn't sure if he had the power to pause payment on rent. Well, apparently he thinks he does because he's doing it for the next 30 days. And we also know that Aspen is not going to be able to reopen to skiing. New order keeps the ski areas closed through at least May 23rd. That is awful late in the year. Probably only Arapahoe Basin would have snow at that point. The governor is also directing an unspecified amount of money to nursing homes, the obvious trouble spot for COVID-19 in the coming months. Governor used that executive order to slash about $250 million from the state budget last night. Said that he had to do it by law because Colorado is going to burn through at least half of its reserves. Well, now the state legislature gets its say on what in particular gets funded. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger talked with the 6 lawmakers who do the deciding.
Every department in the state of Colorado has to find cuts. The state anticipates removing $2 to $3 billion next fiscal year, which starts in July, out of a budget of $34.4 billion. Next, those recommendations go to the Joint Budget Committee.
Is it true that if you add up all of the recommended cuts, you're not even halfway to what you need to cut?
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
The 6 members of the JBC will spend all next week looking at potential cuts department by department. But it won't be until May 12th when they find out how much revenue the state actually has. So why not wait to look at what should get cut until after they know how much they have?
The way I view this, Marshall, is we're developing a set of options.
Saving all of those decisions until after the forecast when we're operating under compressed timeline just isn't going to work out.
The later the forecast comes in, the more accurate it's going to be.
The budget forecast, which details how much tax revenue the state collected, will guide decisions for what to cut from July 1st to June 30th next year. Last night, Governor Polis used an executive order to make immediate cuts between now and June 30th. He did so because the state will dip into half of its emergency piggy bank. Basically, the state does not have enough money to pay for what it thought it could for the next 2 months. His immediate cuts include Medicaid services, technology to simplify sales and use tax for businesses, even the Colorado State Patrol. I asked the Republicans on the JBC if this is a moment they turn to the majority Democrats and say, you shouldn't have spent so much.
If you're a fiscal conservative or just the minority party, you can say we never should have been doing that in the first place. And that gets you to the first few $100 million. But then, then you need another $2 billion.
Remember, what the governor did is for the next 2 months. What the JBC is going to do is going to be for next year. What the governor avoided for the next 2 months are state furloughs. Kyle, I asked the JBC about that. The chairwoman, Representative Danae Escar, said she hopes to avoid furloughs. Senator Bob Rankin said you can't necessarily look at the other businesses and cities that are doing furloughs and not consider it perhaps for the state employees.
All right. Marshall, thank you so much. Another Democrat is on the Democratic Senate primary ballot, despite not having enough petition signatures to get there. A judge ruled that Lorena Garcia's campaign was adversely impacted by the shutdown. Garcia made the case that she had to stop gathering signatures because of the outbreak. Democratic Secretary of State Jena Griswold is challenging another Democratic Senate contender who got on the ballot with that argument without the signatures, Michelle Frigno-Warren. Griswold's even raising the issue of getting rid of signature collection if it could just be overruled by judges.
The reason behind signature collection in Colorado is to show that there is a significant support for a candidate being on the ballot. So that's definitely a conversation that can be had. It's a bigger lift than just switching a law. It's in our Constitution.
Both the Secretary of State and the governor's office are blocking new signature gathering right now. Anybody who wants to run as an unaffiliated candidate for Senate or run for a spot on RT's board has to wait until at least June 1st to start, but they're going to get an additional 56 days to gather. If Garcia and Frigno-Warren end up staying on the ballot, that is good news for the Senate frontrunner, former Governor John Hickenlooper, because then that would mean that Hickenlooper avoids a one-on-one contest against former House Speaker Andrew Romanoff. Romanoff, Garcia, and Frigno-Warren would likely divide up the progressive support, giving Hickenlooper an easier path through the primary to face Republican Senator Cory Gardner come fall. There are some nurses who would like to have a word with you about mental health, theirs. Arnusha Roy talked to a CU student, nursing student working in the NICU, who said that her mental health training came just in time.
Especially working in the NICU, I think I'm always in a high stress situation. We're caring for our patient that's critically ill, but we also have 2 parents that are terrified out of their minds that their baby is not breathing or they're not eating. We're their advocates. We're kind of their educators. We're their protectors.
Then the pandemic happened.
And we're blessed in the NICU that we are allowing parents to come in, but that's not grandmas or aunts or uncles. We're now taking on those roles. We're being best friends. We're being grandparents. We're being kind of, all of those things.
Brittany Andrighetti, a CU nursing student, found herself extra thankful for her mental health training that happened just weeks before COVID-19 dominated Colorado.
We definitely should be having that conversation a lot more than we probably do.
It just helps ground us It helps guide us, and especially in these times of uncertainty.
Tammy Spencer with the program said the nursing school started revamping its curriculum in the fall, realizing their students should have more training in understanding mental health issues and how to identify them, not just for their patients, but for themselves too.
We signed up for this, right? We want to take care of patients, and we've all heard of burnout amongst nursing. We've heard of the emotional and moral distress that nurses sometimes have, and that I think is just brought, it's brought even more in magnified in this time of COVID.
A training that kicked in just in time.
Well, we're all anxious all the time
to watch for signs that might have been missed otherwise.
And I wouldn't have known that without that training.
The Colorado Crisis Services is available 24/7. Now, CU Anschutz is also making sure that this expanded training is going to be taught across campuses. And so when people do identify what's going on, there's going to be virtual support groups and hotlines for staff and faculty, like Kyle, that they can access as well.
If we get too far away from nature, I think we begin to decline.
It's time we dig up some dirt. It might just make you feel better this spring. Interesting choice of graduation venue, but hey, a commencement's a commencement, so we shall commence. Next.
This is how this Friday started. Happy May Day, the start of May, with temperatures in summer-like territory, mid-80s. Average high is 66, and we will be cooler tomorrow with the arrival of a front coming in later tonight. Out ahead of it, we're tracking some isolated gusty storms over northern Colorado, southeastern Wyoming, and western Nebraska. These storms are not severe tonight, but stronger storms are likely tomorrow. And speaking of tomorrow, if you wake up early, you may encounter a bit of fog and drizzle. It'll burn off before lunchtime, but late-day thunder showers could mean wind and heavy rain. Not tonight. Calm, quiet, low 49. Tomorrow, fog and drizzle early and then scattered afternoon storms. Sunday looks warmer, a high of 78. Monday looks great, too, and lovely weather for the first full week of May.
There is no better food supply chain than the one that starts in your backyard and ends in your stomach, unless perhaps you are giving away what you grow to your friends and neighbors. Remember, Americans grew victory gardens during World War II because of the food shortages at that time. Today, photojournalist Tom Cole found Colorado's gardeners getting ready for this year's effort.
I will show you one fun thing given to me on my birthday one time, and you see it's labeling that plant, Sorbacus chronicus. My name is Ruth Vasquez. I'm a master gardener. A lot of people are thinking now, gosh, there might be some shortage of some things. Maybe I better have a garden. Gardening is always great anyway. Let's go ahead and have a good victory garden. So you are growing things for yourself, and if you grow a lot of produce, there are food banks that can really use any overflow. If we get too far away from nature, I think we begin to decline. I think you need to have something growing and alive around you. I love gardening. I refer to myself as a dirt person. This is a retreat. This is a place that you can come into this garden and immediately you feel, this is lovely. You can create something that is a little haven place for you. Yes, I highly recommend gardening, whether it's just for things that bloom or also for things that bloom and then produce fruit that you can eat.
Do not take this as permission from your poorly dressed TV newsman to just throw in your whole garden right now. It's May 1st in Colorado. If you've been here before, you understand it's probably going to snow. Go slow, be careful if you need tips. The CSU Extension is offering a free course on vegetable gardening for the month of May. It's free. There's a link on the next Facebook page.
It makes me really happy to see, honestly, so many of you guys that showed up. I wasn't expecting this.
Her family wouldn't miss this for the world, even if they did have to dust off the old camping chairs. And your good news is another family's May Day tradition. Next. Class of 2020 is graduating with a degree in ingenuity, and they're finding creative ways to celebrate despite their canceled or postponed commencement ceremonies, like the Jane family in Golden. Our Noel Brennan and photojournalist Ann Herbst spent the day with them yesterday.
My graduation date was June 6, 2020 in New York City.
The big day is here, 1 month early.
As I am graduating medical school.
And Shalini Jane plans to celebrate from home near Green Mountain.
Pretty weird, huh? This is the first time I've worn anything besides sweatpants in months, so it's really exciting.
Her big sister dressed up. And Dad?
This is our podium.
Found a way to dignify the bar cart.
Hopefully it doesn't send the wrong message. University approved podium. I don't know if it's actually university approved, but I'm saying it is.
Her little brother made things more official.
I made a mock program as well.
He shows his excitement in different ways.
Makeshift graduation, because we had to celebrate.
Just a few family and friends.
For having a program. And I was going to put us right over here.
My fiance and his family will be here to join us. My grandparents.
So we were all set. We had airline tickets lined up, everything, and then COVID-19 happened. And all our graduations got canceled.
All 3 graduations.
You know, I was supposed to be in New York, my sister was supposed to be in Miami, Florida, and my brother was supposed to be up in Boulder, Colorado, all on different days at different times.
Instead, siblings graduated together in front of family and friends, socially distanced in the cul-de-sac. Shalil with a master's in mechanical engineering and medical degrees for Shalini and big sister Rainika.
Thank you. Oh. It's kind of a big deal for when you earn your MD.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
The other Dr. Jane would know.
So I am a physician also.
How his daughters are feeling.
Yay!
But his kids were the first
Thank you, Dad.
to earn driveway degrees.
I did it! It's kind of weird, but it's kind of cool because it's just another way to bring the family together.
For next, I'm Noel Brennan.
That is just great. Hey, a reminder, we are going to throw a statewide graduation celebration here on Next. Everybody's invited. High school grads, college grads, kindergarten grads, but we need your videos to do it. So, parents, send us a video, what you would like the world to know about your graduate. Teachers, professors, the same. Whatever you'd like to stand on stage and say to the class of 2020. And students, what would you like to tell the people who have guided you to this point in your life? Keep those videos coming. Email next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext. We return with your good news, a Next viewer and her granddaughter's sweet May Day tradition. Your good news this Friday is a May Day tradition, changed but continuing during coronavirus. Jan brings her granddaughters flowers every May Day. Jan told us this year they made sure to stay far apart during the delivery. Her granddaughters didn't even pick up the roses per their mom's instructions right away. Jan says when they were younger, her granddaughters would always double check to make sure that Uma was going to make it with the flowers. Uma has made it every year, even this one. So much feedback tonight about the idea of people taking out anger over the Denver mask order on grocery store workers. Thompson writes, "Thank you. My daughter was in tears after hearing you tonight. She works at Natural Grocers, and needless to say, she had a tough day. Thank you for sticking up for her and those who are helping to keep the refrigerator stocked." Michael writes in to say, "I work at a Home Depot. We can only allow 150 people in the store at a time. That means we have experienced profanity, threats, and one customer even spat in an employee's face." We have got to come up with a better solution than turning on each other over this stuff. I get that people are upset, but try and remember who you're upset with. It's not somebody who's making sure that you're well fed. Thanks for spending the week with us. See you next time.